The 7 levels of pro UFC fighters. This is every level of professional UFC fighter explained. Level 1 and Level 7. The gap between them is so wide that they might as well be playing different sports. By the time we get to Level 7, we are talking about fighters who redefined what this sport even looks like. Let's start at the bottom. Level 1. These are fighters who made it to the UFC, but had absolutely no business being there. We are not talking about journeymen or guys who just went on a losing streak. We are talking about fighters who stepped into the octagon and looked like they had never trained a day in their life at this level. The clearest example is CM Punk. CM Punk made his UFC debut with a 0-0 professional record. No amateur fights, no regional fights, nothing. He went straight from pro wrestling to a UFC pay-per-view main card. The only reason it was legal was because the Athletic Commission gave him a special license based on his pro wrestling background. The pro wrestling, where the outcomes are scripted and the punches are choreographed. His debut went exactly as you would expect. He got taken down immediately, ground and pounded, and submitted in the first round without landing a single significant strike. That is Level 1, a fighter who should never have been given a contract in the first place. Level 2, bad. These are legitimate professional fighters who earned a UFC contract but cannot compete once they get there. They usually have 1 or 2 good regional wins that got them noticed, but the moment they step into the octagon against real UFC-level opposition, the holes in their game get exposed immediately and they never recover. Greg Hardy is a good example. He was a former NFL player who started training MMA in his mid-20s. He had a ton of athletic success early on because his size and explosiveness carried him. But once he started getting matched with actual heavyweight contenders, it became obvious very quickly that his skill set was nowhere near the level it needed to be. He got dismantled. Level 2 fighters usually go 1-3, 2-4, maybe pick up a win here and there against another Level 2, but they never crack the top 15 and eventually get cut. Level 3. Mid. This is probably where 60 to 70% of the active UFC roster lives right now. These are real, legitimate, professionally trained MMA fighters who can compete, win fights, and look impressive against the right opponent. But they are wildly inconsistent. One week they look like a top contender, the next week they get finished by someone ranked below them. Kevin Holland is the perfect Level 3 fighter. Insane highlight reel, genuinely entertaining to watch. One fight of the night multiple times, but he cannot string together wins against top 15 guys. Michael Chandler spent most of his UFC career at this level too. Exciting, dangerous, capable of beating anyone on a given night. But he could never close it out against elite competition consistently. Level 3 fighters are the lifeblood of the UFC. They fill cards, they deliver finishes, they have massive fan bases, but a title shot is almost always out of reach. Level 4, good. Now we are into ranked territory. These are top 15 fighters who have legitimate wins over credible opponents and have at some point been considered a real contender. At the lower end of this level, you have fighters like Paddy Pimblett. Undefeated in the UFC, real skill, fan favorite, top 10 at lightweight. But he still has clear defensive holes that the best fighters will eventually exploit. At the upper end, you have fighters like Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Tony Ferguson in his prime. Fighters who have gone 5 rounds with champions, had title shots, and come agonizingly close. These guys are elite by every normal standard. But at the very top of the food chain, they are missing something. Whether it is a defensive hole, a cardio issue, or just a mental block against the best. Level 4 is full of household names. The Diaz brothers, Cowboy Cerrone, Dan Henderson. Fighters who had iconic moments and legendary careers, but never quite got over the final hurdle. Level 5. Elite. This is where the champions live. Not the guys who won a title once, the guys who won a title and then defended it. Multiple times, against multiple styles. Henry Cejudo belongs here. Became a 2-division champion, defended both belts, retired undefeated in title fights. Ngannou belongs here. When he was on, he was the most dangerous puncher in the history of the heavyweight division. Charles Oliveira belongs at this level too. The man broke the all-time UFC submission record and ran through the entire lightweight division for 2 years straight. Level 5 fighters are the guys whose names you say out loud and people know exactly who you're talking about. They had dominant runs, they beat contenders cleanly, and they made their division look like their personal property for a period of time. Level 6. Generational. This is where it gets rare. Level 5 fighters won titles. Level 6 fighters won titles and held them so long that an entire era of the sport got named after them. Kamaru Usman belongs here. 5 title defenses. Beat every single top welterweight of his era. Dominant in almost every fight. The welterweight division from 2019 to 2022 was just Usman's division. Stipe Miocic belongs here. The greatest heavyweight champion in UFC history. 3 title defenses in the hardest division to hold a title in. Beat Francis Ngannou at the peak of Ngannou's power. Amanda Nunes belongs here. Dominated 2 divisions simultaneously, cleaned out the entire women's roster, finished legends like Cyborg and Ronda Rousey. She is the greatest women's MMA fighter of all time. What separates level 6 from level 5 is that when you think about who was the best in the world during a certain window of time, level 6 fighters are the only answer. Nobody is close. Level 7. GOAT status. This is the rarest level in the history of the sport. We are not talking about the best in a division. We are talking about fighters who changed what the sport itself is capable of. Anderson Silva. Middleweight champion for 7 years, 16 consecutive wins. A striking style so far ahead of its time that fighters are still copying it today. He was not just beating opponents, he was embarrassing them. Demetrius Johnson, the most technically complete fighter to ever compete in the UFC. 11 consecutive title defenses, a record that had never been done and may never be done again. George St. Pierre. Dominated one of the most competitive divisions in the sport's history, went up a weight class and won a second title, and avenged every single loss in his career. There is a reason he is on every GOAT list ever made. And then there is Jon Jones. Arguably the greatest fighter to ever compete in MMA. Near-perfect technical skill, almost unbeatable athleticism, and a resume that includes virtually every top light heavyweight from the past 15 years. Jon Jones did not just beat his opponents, he studied them, exposed them, and made it look effortless doing it. Even the fights where he was supposed to struggle, he found a way. These are the fighters who did not just dominate their era. They set the template for every fighter who came after them. The coaches, the prospects, the champions of the future. They are all studying these men. 7 levels. Most fighters never make it past level 2. A handful reach level 4. Very few ever touch level 6. And level 7, only a select few human beings in the entire history of this sport have ever been there.